Hey everybody, my name's Grant, and I've got a Mercedes E400 convertible from 2016. I'm getting ready to do the 50,000 mile maintenance, and I found that on this car there aren't a lot of them out there, so I'm just going to make some videos. Probably going to be a mess. I'm going to try to put them together in a way that makes sense for you guys, but I figure if somebody else has to figure this out too, why waste the time? I've learned a lot from MB World forums and just looking on YouTube from different things, but this particular car I haven't seen. So this is Shinya. I'm gonna take a moment and let you see Shinya. She is well, she's my baby. So anyway, we're gonna take good care of her today. She is, like I said, 2016. We got a Premium 3 package, so every option we can have on this thing, I've got it. So if there's something that can get in the way as far as sensors and electronics, it's going to be here. Anyway, I'm going to take these as we go. Right now, we're changing the oil. And there's my daughter. Say hi, Jazz. All right, so we got the oil change going on. And for any of you out there that haven't changed your oil on one of these guys yet, I strongly suggest getting an oil pump, because the oil pump is the best way to change the oil on this car. Okay, everybody, I'm at the tail end of this job. I've got the old spark plugs out, the new ones in, but I wanted to pause for a moment. So you're seeing that now I'm injecting this into the video is what I'm planning on doing. These are all the tools I needed to get the spark plugs out and the new ones in, and I'm sure I won't need anything else to get everything put back together. So here's what we got. We got our crimper pliers that remove those extra clamps, right, which are reusable clamps. You should be able to just clip them back in place. I've got a extending magnetic tool here, a couple of screwdrivers, needle nose pliers. I have both a 6-inch and a 3-inch socket extension, and you'll find out why you need both of those. And when you get to that, the 6-inch will be there for most of those plugs, but you're going to need a shorter connection for that one up by the driver. I've got a spark plug socket here. This is a 14mm thin-walled magnetic socket, extremely handy. Just a regular ratchet. I've got a E25 E-Torx and an E10 E-Torx. Let me get that right here real quick just to be 100% sure. E8, I was wrong, E8 E-Torx. And 6 zip ties. Now you see the size of these zip ties. Hopefully you can pick up on the fact these are about a foot, 14 inches long. These are not little baby zip ties. These are used to basically lasso the under the coil, that little tube that goes down and connects up the wire to the spark plug. You use these to lasso that thing. So I used 2 of them because you just use a screwdriver to push the lever, you pull it back apart, you use it again. But if you're, it's easier if you just clip it and grab another one, have 6 of them ready. And then you need a torque wrench to make sure that you torque those sockets or those spark plugs in right. Extremely small amount of torque needed here, 23 Newton meters. I thought it was going to take a little bit more, but it clicks surprisingly fast. So those are all the tools you'll need. Of course, got my gloves and flashlights and all that good stuff, but nothing special needed for this job past what I just showed you here. Thanks. Let's see here. When you first go to do any maintenance on here, the first thing you're going to want to do is take off this shroud. On the 3-liter V6, this cover right here just pops right off. It doesn't really take that much. So what you do first is you slide this piece here off the front. See that as I'm reaching over? This guy, it's just got these little grooves in it that let it slide over. If you're looking again, I'm kind of bent over the front here. They slide into these little clips on the right and the left. So you get that loose, and once you do that, all you've got to do is pull, start going around the edges. You go pull the little clips, and they just come loose one at a time, all the way around. And once you've gotten them all off, just give it a good pull and it's off. That's step number 1. So anytime you're doing maintenance on this car, just get that guy out of the way here. Now you've got the whole engine here to look at, which is beautiful. So what I'm doing today is a 50,000 mile service. I'm going to replace the cabin air filter, the engine air filter, spark plugs, and oil, besides checking all the other fluids. Those are really the key components of the 50,000 mile on this thing. So I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. So we got our dual turbo. One of the important things here is these guys, these flat pieces, they just kind of pop out. So I'm going to grab a screwdriver, get it off of that little clip right there. And you see it just kind of pops off the clip, comes free, and then you watch this, it just wiggles right out. There you go, one down. Put that to the side. Do the same thing on the other side here. All right, two down. So now the next big important thing is, again, the air intakes here, we're trying to get at where the spark plugs are. So the next piece is, you got to take these clamps off here, and this cover off here, and cover off here. So to do that, you need a Torx bit, and what I've done is, first thing, you'll find out I'm a little bit lazy. So if I can do something with my cordless drill, I'm going to do it. So for Torx bit, right here in my drill, it says it is a, what size is this thing? T25. So get yourself a T25 bit. Take these screws here out one at a time. And we're going to do that on all these around here. And then we're going to do the same thing over here, and I'll be right back. So viewers, after you've taken these screws out here, you are going to have these two panels loose. So you'll see your, I'm putting my gloves back on, hang on. All right. So you'll see your air filters here, and your covers are loose. These are all these little T25 screws, but now everything's held on with this cable here, right? But you're going to want these panels to be out of your way. So this cable, instead of trying to pull this thing out, this cable pops around this way, the whole thing turns, and then you can stick your finger on the other side and push it out. And it pushes out. So if you see what I did here, I pushed on this little round thing. So I'm going to turn this one over and do the same thing. Thank you. Alright, so there we go. There we go, it came out. Now in the process, I've lost one of my screws. I'm going to have to find out where that dropped down to. And now, the panels are free. Put those over to the side. Now you're going to take your air filters out. Just come right out of here. As part of your kit, you should have bought 2 of these things. Alright, you see inside of there, if you look down in there, it's a little gross down in there. You're going to want to get a vacuum and vacuum that right out, get that all clean. So I'm going to pause it here. I'm not going to show you the vacuuming, but I think you get the idea.
Go.
Alright, so now we've got the filters out, covers off. I did find that screw. They are magnetic screws, which is handy. If you don't have a little telescoping magnet, get one. Here, I'll show you what I used for that. Just a little magnet on the tip of a telescoping thing. When you're working on your car, if you don't have one of these little magnets, you need to get one, because you will drop screws and bolts, and this will help you get them. So now we're going to do 2 things to get this off. So this is the intake of the air into the engine. So it's held on first by a little E-Torx here. So you're going to need an E10 E-Torx. So E-Torx is basically, it's an inverted Torx screw or a socket. So instead of having the star pointed away, it's built like a regular socket, but the inside is just the shape of a Torx head. So we're going to take this off.
Yeah.
All right. So that screw is now all the way loose. It's down in there. Now next we got to get these clamps off, which should be reusable clamps. For those we got a great little clamp removal tool. So we are going to use this here.
Go.
Alright, so I got the first one off. So what you're doing with this clamp removal tool here is the big head of the clamp. You're gonna put these pliers right over it. You're just gonna pop it free, and the whole clamp is now spinning free. So my hope now is this will come loose. I can separate out the pieces and get this intake right off of there. That's my hope. Again, this is the first time I've ever changed these plugs on this car, and I haven't found a how-to that's really thorough. So let's just see if we can shake her loose here. Yep, she comes loose. Look at that. Alright, so that's one side. I'm going to set this. Make sure you save these clamps, because they are reusable clamps. Set that to the side here. Now I have no idea how this little guy that holds the filter in place is built in here. So we're going to pause it. I'm going to figure that out. We're going to do the same thing to the other side, and then I'll let you know how that thing comes loose. So let's pause here.
And go.
All right, we figured out how this thing comes off. So to get this loose, you're going to stick your fingers in right here in the intake. You're going to kind of shake it loose. This side comes loose first, and then you can work the other side loose. Basically, on the underside of this, you've got these holes. See these 3 round holes? Those go right over the top of 3 rods. Get a look close in on that. You see this rod with a rubber tip? There's 3 of those. This thing just sort of pops right on top of them. So you just got to pop it loose, gently work it loose. It does take a little bit of force, but you don't have to rip at it. Just they pop loose with a little bit of good nudging. So I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side here. All right. Then we're going to see, you get to see real time, pulling the other side loose. So we're going to stick my fingers in here. There we go, so that came loose. And then we got 2 of the same things to pop loose up here. There's 1. And there's 2. All right, we're going to take it out. Remember, before you put these back, you want that to be nice and clean. That's where the air is going into your engine, so you want this whole thing cleared out. Okay.
Can you pause it?
Yep.
Go.
All right, so you're backed off so I can see the whole engine for the moment. All right, now we got to clear some of this off away from the engine. There's this rubber covering here, which should, I believe, just kind of pop away. Now that we got the, yep, it's just held on with some loose, easy pop items, so it's not screwed in at all. You can just take that right off. Toss it to the side. And do the same thing on the other side here. Just getting this protective rubber coating covering. That's yep, that's off too. That's interesting. All right, making a pile of parts here. All right, now pause. All right, so now we pulled all that loose. Here are the 3 cylinders. So underneath there, you see, if you look down around the underside right here, that's where the wire goes into the spark plug. So we're going to have to get these covers out of the way. So this is actually a slightly smaller E400 bit. This is a E8. So we're going to see what happens when we take these off. Now I'm just going to work my way across one by one here, but anyway, so take this guy off and out of the way, and then I'll come back.
No.
All right, so we got the 2 E400 screws out of this one. Now this is loose. This is what's feeding the energy to the spark plug. So now we're going to take this gray little thing here. I'm going to pop it away that way. So we're going to pop it towards the front of the car. And you would think you're trying to pull this cord loose here, but you're not. you're trying to slide this whole unit away now. That's the plug. This whole unit is the plug. So don't pull on this wire here. Just pop the gray cap loose and it slides right off and it's away. So you need to do that on all 6 of these heads here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got all 6 cylinders there. So once you've done that, now down here again, I'm pointing all straight down in here. Yeah, get here. I'll hold the light if you want to get the camera down in there. Oh. All right, down in here, you can see right here is where it's connected to the spark plug right there. Now you don't want to just start yanking on this unit here, because I've been reading about stories of these things pulling off and you've broken it and then you got another piece to replace. However, I understand there's a trick that we're going to try right here in front of you guys of getting a zip tie on it and then pulling on the zip tie. So I understand it still takes a little bit of oomph, but this way you're not ripping on this thing, this unit here. You're ripping a little further down there where it's harder plastic. So I'm going to get my zip ties out and we're going to give this a shot. Alright, so you may or may not be able to see this. Again, I've never done this before, just like most of you probably haven't. So I'm slipping the zip tie down there. Trying to catch it with my pliers. Which is an interesting little fishing expedition. Alright, so I got it through. So now the idea is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and zip it up here, but not too tight. And I'm going to try to slide it down around. There's a spot there you can kind of hook it on the underside of that. I wish I knew the proper names for these pieces. Anyway, so you can slide it under there, hook it there, and then when we're pulling on the spark plug here, pulling on that unit, we're pulling on a little bit of a harder, firmer piece rather than on this flimsy cord. So work it loose, and I hope we don't break anything. If this thing breaks, I'm in big trouble. All right, let me see back here. Pause that. All right, so you're recording?
Yes.
All right, so I just got it loose. So you can see I had gotten the zip tie down around this harder plastic piece, and it came out. And it looks like it came out without breaking anything. This looks like a whole piece. So now I'm curious. If I look back in there, come on around this way, point way back under there, right off to the right a little more. Okay, let me hold that. Let me take that shot here. I'm going to try to show you all what I'm looking at here. Way down in there, you can see the spark plug. So now we're going to take that out. There you go. Now I've got a special spark plug removing socket here. It's a swivel socket. This is a 14 millimeter, okay? 14 millimeter on this guy. And of course it's an extension socket. So I believe I'm just going to want to use my, oh no, I'll use this big long extension. For this one at least. Alright, so we're going to stick that down in there. Alright. Came loose at first without too much effort. I didn't have to torque it too hard. You never want to feel like you have to torque these any harder than you really have to. You don't want to snap them off inside the block there. So, just go and get this guy out and see what it looks like. Almost there. I'm surprised the plug didn't come out with me there. see what we got. Come on. Ah, it's not coming out yet. And, oh, by the way, this is a magnetic socket, so it pulls that on out. So now we got our spark plug here, came out. Yeah, this thing's been fried pretty well. So that's a well-used spark plug. 50,000 miles is a good amount. We're going to pause here. So we're going to do that on all 6 heads. And before we go to put any more back in, we're going to talk about what you want to do. You want to put some dielectric grease on the top so that that'll come off. The next one will come off a little easier. And this particular car, the good thing is these spark plugs are not indexed, so that's good. You can just tighten them to the right torque amount, but we'll get to that here in a minute. So we're gonna pause. So once you've taken the heads off, or the coils off, this is what it'll look like. You can see down there in those holes here that, let's see, where's are off? We got 3 holes down there, and there's the inside of your cylinder. So I've got all 3 of these out on the one side. I'm going to come over, I'm going to do the driver's side. You see on the driver's side we've still got the coils attached. 1, 2, 3, right here. 1, 2, 3. Again, we're going to use our E10 E-Torx sockets to get those out. So rather than make you watch, I'm just going to get started right here, and then we'll come back once I get them all out. And one other important thing here, we've got to make sure, use your dielectric grease. You're going to put that on the tip up here on your spark plug. Oops, sorry. On the tip up here on your spark plug, and you're also going to put a little bit in the end of the wire. That way, what you end up with is a little bit of lubrication on the tip of your spark plug. It won't prevent the electronic connection, but it will allow those things to come up better, because as you saw, pulling on those wires off, pulling those coils off, it's really tight, and you jerk too hard, you can tear the rubber boot. So this is much better. So like I said, we're going to put that on here, and I'm going to set the camera and show you putting a little bit of grease on each of these. Alright, now I don't have my son here to hold the camera for me, so I'm working with one hand. So I just want to make the point, the Mercedes manual suggests putting a gram of this dielectric grease in this opening here. Now the problem is, I don't know what a gram of grease is, but that looks like it's going to catch the spark plug on its way in. Now here's the spark plug. I generally like to keep that little cardboard thing on there until I'm done, but start here. So on the plug itself, you're going to want to put it around the top edge right here, just around where that metal piece connects, and rub a little bit around there. And by rubbing it around, you're just going to make it so when this boot goes onto it, it's going to slide across it, and it's just not going to get as sticky for the next time you have to change these things out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all 6 and screw them in, again putting them to 23 Newton meters, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now I got all 6 plugs out, as you can see here. And I'm going to turn this sideways a little bit. As you can see, yeah, they're old and dirty, but if you get up real close, they're pretty clean. You don't see a lot of deposits or anything on there. I always use a premium gas. I use fuel injector and fuel system cleaner pretty regularly. So those are pretty good looking spark plugs right there. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and install my new ones. I went with NGK spark plugs. People can argue for Mercedes brand if they want, but that's what I decided to do here. So I've got 6 new spark plugs, and I'm going to put them on with this handy dandy torque wrench. You want to make sure you torque these properly to 23 Nm, which of course I've got my torque wrench and I keep my handy instructions here. Never ever lose your Newton meters instructions. So I've already set this to where it's going to torque them down to 23 and then click. So we're just going to screw those in, tighten them up, and then I'll be back. Okay, So now we're putting the air intakes back on, and as you can see, I've already got this one clicked into place here. I'm gonna set my light down. Now we got these clamps that we took off on the first round. Now these are reusable, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those pliers that I used to take them off, and believe it or not, you can use the same pliers to put them back on. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. So you're going to stick it around it, and you got to give it a pretty good squeeze back further away from it, and it will just pop right back into place where it goes. See that? One. And we'll do the other one here. Sorry about that. And 2. You hear that click? Just clicked into place. They're nice and firm. So we're good to go on those clamps. Now I'm going to keep putting it back together.